far.
I don't know. It was Kirby.
I thought they were yours.
Oh. No, I'm not.
I thought maybe Terry was building them or something.
Kirby. Yeah, I've never been there.
He's felt so left out, I'm sure.
I don't feel that. Wait until those things crash here a little bit. You don't have anything. You know what? I've got a real good friend. I've got a real good friend that lost $84,000 because that's a mistake on device. $84,000. Pushed the wrong button.
Yeah, okay, let me see if I can do that.
You know,
If that's
he
fine.
has to come down and get coffee for some of it.
Yep.
Really? Huh.
They got some of it back, but they didn't get it all back. Okay, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Can everybody hear everybody?
Yep.
Okay. Did everybody have a chance to read the minutes of the last meeting? If so, is there any additions or corrections?
I'll move to approve as written.
Okay, it's been moved by Amanda. Second by Dara. All in favor, raise your hand. Approved. Okay. Consent agenda, we need, permission for clerk to pay insurance at time of billing, to pay utility at time of billing, to pay utility incentive before the 25th of the month, to pay theater bills when due, and to pay payment service network bills when due.
So moved.
Been moved by Larry.
I'll second.
Second by David. All in favor? It's approved. Cody's not here. New business. We got a chicken permit for Margaret Lister.
Inspection's done on it, just as renewal. They have to be inspected each year as part of their renewal. It's good.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the chicken permit?
So moved.
Moved by Amanda.
Second.
Second by Cale. All in favor? Approved. Resolution 2020-2, and that was to waive fees during this time frame. And I think everybody was in on that discussion when we did that. So do I hear a motion to approve the waiving of fees?
So moved.
Moved by Cale,
Second.
second by Larry. All in favor? Approved.
Need to individually vote.
Do we need to individually vote this? Okay. Larry?
Yes.
Cale?
Yes.
David? Yes. Amanda?
Yes.
Dara?
Yes.
Okay, it's approved. Old business property cleanup.
We only have that one current one, and that's an out-of-state person, who's kind of in a strange position to further enforce that. They've worked to a certain point. We'll keep working on that as time permits with, I guess, the travel restriction thing. The next thing is I just need to give us more. We've got plenty of things we need to get notifications on. In fact, I would like to get to that very soon as possible. So it's gonna, I'll get you a list and, basically a form letter of what they are. So we have a file started on those things.
I guess if anybody sees anything that they think should be on the list, let JR know. He probably already has it, but if you do see something, let him know.
And as weird as it sounds, we know the ones that are from out of town. I think we're gonna stick with ones that are in town under the current circumstances. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I hate to do that, obviously.
Well,
You need cleaned up what you need cleaned up, but we can't really be in the,
yeah.
because it's not touched on those yet. You're not hearing?
Can't hear you very well.
Really?
Okay, well then we'll let you go through property cleanups and decide which ones you wanna work with then. Okay, project spending, anything we need to revisit on those?
The only thing that I'd like to mention is I think we could remove that purchasing policy, when we may have talked about that before when you guys approved the purchasing policy for the grant. I think that takes that place of that.
Does everybody agree with that? Take that purchasing policy off? It's been on there for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take that off. Any more on the Washington Street?
No, we're kind of at a standstill. We haven't. Been gone too. Discussions, yeah.
As far as the old Empire Motel, can you hear me now, Lila?
Yes, I can.
Okay, as far as the old motel property, I got the information to Helen. I think she's intended to be our agent. I don't know if that's, something we keep on or not. I mean, we obviously don't wanna overlook it if there's some possibility we could be working on, but I think we have basically put the CCDC as the agent for that thing. So, I guess it can stay on the list, whatever, but that is in place.
We probably better leave it there just so
Okay.
we can keep visiting about it anyway. Library improvements, we need to look at some things down there, don't we?
Yeah.
Some of that outside stuff that we never got done.
Did you ever talk to Roger about that? I know he was part of that initially. He might
Yeah,
help us identify
no,
what
I
we
haven't.
looked at. So maybe we just get a hold of him, if that's okay with everybody. I mean, obviously, we'd worked on that before.
Yeah, we kind of dropped the ball there. Okay.
Sawhill Park, I think your lighting did a heck of a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you on, if you're still talking about one on that northwest corner,
East corner.
northeast corner.
Yeah, that tree's gonna block it from that direction. So I think we gotta go northeast and keep it from going back towards the band shell.
Okay.
We'll probably experiment with one there, and if it doesn't work, we'll add one there.
Did you had bids from, Bauman over there on sandblasting?
Yes, the sandblasting alone was $27,000. That was without a painting, so I don't know where we go with that. I mean, I'm reluctant to, that's just removal. And I don't know whether we look for someone else. He said that, I think he had like 12,000 of that was the removal of the debris. I have a hard time thinking that's reasonable. I thought 15, I mean, closer to half. I don't know. I think to justify it, we would have to have another estimate to even consider going after grant funding for something like that. That just seems like a tremendous number. And I don't know what the other resource would be, and especially now, currently.
Brock might have a way to sandblast. Pete used to have that commercial.
We check with Brock. If he doesn't, he might have a resource.
Right,
for
let's
it.
check with Brock and see if there's another way we can get a price on it anyway to make sure
Right.
that.
Yeah, I'm not proclaiming the guy's out of his place, but I think he told us he thought 15 or 16 at one time. So
Yeah, I wasn't that
talked on
much.
that number, but to just remove something from it and then have to repair it,
Yeah. Then
we better have something else that says that's a justifiable price.
okay.
I will check with Brock.
Okay. Okay, back to old business, street project.
So, one of the concerns that came out was talking about getting this letter out to be able to move forward with the street. And we had a letter drafted. I talked with Mike, and we figured up a letter that basically just is a follow-up to the July letter of last year that states that we now are funded. Everybody should have a copy of that thing. I guess the intent at the last meeting was when we get this thing drawn up, that's just the next step and we do that. I became a little bit concerned at just this notification just going out. I guess a lot of things have changed since that time period, and that we should at least have a discussion about sending this letter out, going forward with this large-scale project, prior to doing so. There is also an additional step that we take beyond this letter. I think this letter is something that the council should discuss and consider, and I would suggest go forward with for the project, because we have our funding tied to it. Mike sent out the email in reference to the bond sales being an economical time to do so. I've been cautioned otherwise by the engineer, so that's how that came up, that he inquired about that. So I would suggest we go ahead with the letter just as it is, understanding that the last time these people heard something from us was July of last year. Like I said, I just thought we should at least have a discussion before we do that, or at least bring it up before we send it out. I didn't want to field complaints after the fact, I guess, if there would be any. So if there's any concern for the way it's worded, the content is directly in line with what their first letter was. So I think it's what we need to do.
I had originally made the edits you see in blue are from me, and that was just kind of letting them know the protocol. If they can't call at 3 o'clock in the afternoon of the council meeting and get on the agenda, they need to do it in advance. However, there is a statute that is relevant that prior to the actual assessment, there needs to be a special hearing set by the council, and that needs to run for publish in 1 week in the paper. And so I advise, I guess, to let them know, please make arrangements to attend the special meeting of the city council, notice of which will be published in the paper, so they know that there's going to be notice published and they need to attend that specific meeting, because there's a state statute that states we have to publish notice and we have to hold a special hearing on this. And so, at least as far as this portion goes. And so, I think that if we make the adjustment to state, please make arrangements to attend the special meeting, notice of which will be published in the paper, that lets them know we're going to be providing a time for anyone who has comments or concerns to do this, so we can do it all at once, as opposed to having two property owners come to one meeting and another property owner come to another meeting and getting on the agenda 2, 3, 4 meetings.
So we should specify that being the meeting after this letter then, as
Right.
opposed to getting scheduled at a meeting, right?
Right.
Okay.
Specify it, and I will be happy to, I don't know if
I apologize, we just talked about this, and I guess I didn't realize that part of it, but yeah, we need to, that one step is basically a protest to the $35. Well, we don't know about the $35, that's an engineer's estimate.
No, it's a protest to how long the measurement is.
Just the measurement?
Yes, it's so,
Oh, I thought it
the
was-
way the property has been appraised is that we know the cost is $35 a square foot, but the appraisal of the property is how long is each person's section that it's going to be taken care of. And so that we had valued it, the way it's valued is $35 on that amount. And so really the protest would be, no, I don't have that much, but we're still required to follow this. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
absent them bringing in an alternative measurement, in which case I'm sure the city would go out and remeasure, or the engineers would go out and remeasure, we still need to follow the proper procedure. And really it's not the $35, it's not the cost of the project, it's the assessment of their property. And that is just the lineal footage measurement of the property that
Which
they
is
would.
equal to the dollars, it's $35 a foot.
Right.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It is just a formality. So if they come in and they protest it, basically they're saying, that's more footage that needs to be changed on mine. We don't have to change it. The point is they have their right to protest it or to have their say against doing it. So if we do that at the next meeting, and in the event somebody has a compelling argument to make an adjustment, they can make that argument at that time. When I was talking to Lauren about this, made it clear, I think we've talked about this before, in some cases, there's going to be more curb and gutter changed out on these properties than what they're being told. And the reason for that is the ease of construction. You don't leave two good sections in a 100-foot run and pour around them. You take those out. but we're only charging them for the ones that are broken to a given amount. So there's no place where somebody's gonna pay for more than what they're gonna get. In fact, it's gonna be the opposite. There again, this is just a protest to what we've chosen to put on as their cost by linear foot on their property. Right?
Yes, and it just says, the statute is mandatory. The governing body shall appoint a time for holding a special session to hear any complaints that may be made as to the valuation of any lot, or, I'm gonna skip ahead because that's not really relevant. A notice of which special session shall be given by the mayor in the official city paper. It's mandatory language in the statute. It must be, notice must be given. We must have a special hearing on this. It just needs to be scheduled so that way we're following the proper steps.
April 27th. We'll just have her put that date in there. That's the
April
following meeting.
27th.
If they don't, so if for some reason somebody wants to protest, can't meet that meeting, we can make the accommodation, but that's the one that that needs to be the meeting to say the protest is that.
Does it have to be a separate time frame?
Well, there has to be a special meeting.
So you can do it a half hour before the regularly scheduled meeting of the 27th. You could do it at 6:30. 6:30 to 7 o'clock is a special meeting to protest that. If it goes longer, you start the council meeting later. But
That's what I was.
let's do it on a regularly scheduled night as opposed to getting everybody together.
Yeah.
This.
Well, that's how you have to get here.
I'll make
but-
it work. I'll
okay.
make it work.
Hey,
Then
Lauren,
after that meeting, you come in and you'll mark the stuff, or the attorney?
I will most likely be out marking that stuff after we get these letters out. I mean, that's the notification that we're going to be, starting the project. The protest doesn't mean we don't move forward. It
Okay.
just gives them their voice to have the protest.
Okay, I didn't know.
Mhm.
Lila, was you saying something?
well, I just had a question for Lauren on the publication and the time between the publication and when the special meeting is held. Is there any restrictions on that? I mean, do we have to have a certain amount of time after publication?
It does not say in the statute. It states a notice of which special session shall be given by the mayor in the official city paper. It does not state specifically what that amount of time must be.
And I think that could be addressed by somebody who says, I have a problem with it, I can't be there on the 27th, what's the next time that I could make my protest? It would be the next meeting. I think you can accommodate that. You can't say if you can't attend that meeting, you can't do it. That's just a special meeting set up for it.
Are we going to try to get that in this week's paper then?
Absolutely.
Lauren,
Yes.
are you doing that?
I can. I've not had to do this before. What was Mike's procedure? Did Mike send the notice to the paper, or did the city office
So
send the notice?
it should just be a public notice, basically summarizing that with a copy of it, basically to whatever we're exactly talking about.
Right, so
Statute.
in previous publications, has it been Mike who submitted them to the paper? In previous notice publications?
I think getting the material together is more what you're concerned with, right? What we put in the paper, Lila, or is that what your question?
Yes.
Yeah, just what it is, so we get the specific information.
Yeah, that's
You can
fine.
put it in.
Yeah, I'll put it together and I'll get it to the paper first thing tomorrow morning. I'll see if they can't accommodate us to, get that in this week.
Okay, well, Lauren's gonna get it wrote up for us and get it to the paper in the morning on what we need to do for this. And then we will, meet at 6:30 instead of 7 o'clock on April the 27th. Is that what the date is? So that if somebody comes in to protest.
So that also would mean that these letters need to go out immediately upon.
Yeah, I have the template. With the revisions that I did, what I'll do is I will change them and I will send them to you and Lila, and I will anticipate that the city will just then print them and send them and be responsible for getting them out because I don't have the addresses and.
I have all the address
Okay.
information.
I will make the changes immediately after the meeting and I will get that sent out this evening. I will get the notice probably typed up this evening and I'll contact the paper tomorrow morning to make sure we can still get it in.
Okay, that should give us plenty of time. If we get those out right away, then that should work.
Okay, we'll move on then. What else you got?
Is there any more discussion on the letter as far as the sending that out at this time? I know those are the sticking points as far as making sure we go to the letter of the law, but.
Well, I think, myself we started this project. The sales tax has been increased, started April the 1st. People know that we're moving forward unless we get a lot of people protesting at the next meeting. We might as well move forward.
And that would only be to the curb and the gutter.
Right.
And moving forward on the project, there was a concern about raising the bonds. That's not a concern. I think it was just a matter of, I don't know quite how to say this. The week and a half ago when I thought this was kind of an issue, it seemed a little bit more like the sky was falling environment. I mean, and I'm not trying to make it sound too normal now, but again, just trying to making sure before we send something out that then stirs something up. I just wanted to make sure that discussion was had here.
Worst part about it is, as far as collecting sales tax money, this month isn't going to be real good.
Exactly. But keep in mind, the amount of bond issue in the first year is nowhere near the limit of what the 1% sales tax could retire. In fact, it is half or a little less than that, as projected from previous numbers. So there isn't an issue with not being able to fund it at all, even with a reduced amount of sales tax income.
Everybody agree to get the letters out, start going forward.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Next item on the streets project, since we're all past that, is I will be out marking the stuff. I mean, I think we have to go forward as if that's what we're doing. Again, the protest is only on the curb and gutter. If the city's committed to moving forward, we need to move forward and get those things done. Get the tree bids out, which is part of that is marking those trees for that. I think as soon as I have those marked, prior to the next council meeting, if that's done, need to be able to get the publication out there for bid submission for that with the requirements of the insurance that we require and licensing as would be expected. The last thing is, of course, I talked to Miller and Associates about the project. And their next step would be to send out surveyors to actually check crowns and surfaces on the existing streets or any changes we would do. So their surveying is going to come shortly after our commitment to keep moving forward with the project, which is now. So I will notify them. I think that's all I have on the street. Question.
Anybody have any questions about the street project? Okay, well, let's move on. Pool report. Larry.
The one thing that I think I need to bring up is I realize with the problems that we've had here lately as far as limited contact and that kind of thing is whether or not we're actually going to be able to get the pool open this year. My concerns right now is we've got 9 or 10. Lila, you haven't had any new applicants, have you?
No, I have not.
Okay. We've got 9 or 10 applicants right now, including a pool manager. My concern is if we can't, what can we do to possibly help lock them in, assuming we are going to go ahead and open the pool to where these kids don't decide that they're going to go ahead and look for a different job. I guess is part of my concern at this point. We're scrounging a little bit to come up with lifeguards right at this point.
Lila, hang on just a second. Did we not check on the clerk's link in reference to other people's activity on this or anticipation?
In one of the league conference calls that they're having twice a week, they talked about this with the clerks that were on the call, and basically their recommendation is to move forward with your normal interview processes, but not to commit to the jobs for these folks and give them, the kids that are applying, make it clear that the job may or may not happen, and if they have other opportunities, they need to be allowed to go for those other opportunities. That's the recommendation from the league.
So completely unclear, honestly.
Mhm.
I don't know how you move forward with doing anything at that, I don't.
Well, Bruce and I had discussed possibly going ahead and calling them all and saying, I think everybody's gonna understand where we're sitting in the situation we're in. I do think there's at least 3 or 4 of these kids that are probably committed to the pool regardless. I just don't know, there's enough new faces. I don't know at this stage, I don't have a good feel yet. I think it probably is worth at least sitting down and making phone calls to these kids and trying to get their feedback on things and what their thoughts are at this point. My concern is not having enough people to keep the pool running, or having to change our hours, or having to do something different if we don't have the personnel to back it. So,
But even if, if we can't open the pool, where are they gonna even find another job? Because if everything's being pushed back,
Dang on the carrot.
I mean, everybody's in that boat where do you go to? So I would think a lot of those kids would still sign up and say, boy, if you get her open, we want the job. And, because, there just isn't gonna be jobs opening up right now.
well, it's really hard to tell at this point what kind of athletic activities are gonna be going on this summer. And,
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, realistically, we're probably still 2 to 3 weeks out from really having a good handle on what direction this is gonna go.
Well, the other day on national news, they said AMC theaters, they told them they weren't gonna be able to open up until August. And they came out and said, we'll be in bankruptcy before then.
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, you take those kind of things,
Where was that recommendation, or where was that coming from?
it was on national news the other day, on the movie theaters.
Was the feds telling that, or a state, or what?
I don't know where they was getting that information. They just said something about where you get, 100, 200 people in the theater right away, because, part of the talk now is to slowly start bringing things out slowly. Well, that's one of the things would be, I guess,
Allow 10 people in.
yeah, only 10 people allowed in there, but, I don't know, but there was that rumor, and they said they would be in bankruptcy before August.
All you can really do is talk to the kids, be honest with
Yeah.
them, and check in a few weeks, it looks like it.
I'll make a point to get a hold of everybody in the next day or two.
Okay.
And, see if I can get a little better feel of where we're gonna be sitting.
Okay. Okey-doke, building permits.
They're on the list on the email. These are all approved. The ones I didn't have signed were not approved, so they're not here, so these are all okay.
The Kurt Buckholz, the Kent Hector, and the Daniel Wilkins.
Don't have them on here again.
Don't?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
On her email, it's on there?
If you click the link to Google Drive,
Are you on the
Right
agenda
on.
that has the blue,
Yeah.
if you click the blue inline, the blue building permits, it'll open in a new tab for you.
Have you been anywhere?
I've got blue.
Have I? Let me go to this.
you have to go to
Open up
the just go to the main folder where it's all shared.
Well, I just opened up the agenda.
I wonder if you have that payroll protection thing.
Wait a minute, look at this, that's totally different.
I just went to the agenda
Email.
here, that came out Friday.
Did you find it, David?
Any business.
Amanda, there's a new agenda that was out today. Are you not seeing that?
I didn't get it.
Well, it's just on the share.
It's on the share.
So go to the actual email.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you have to do.
Oh, like,
Is that her email? Because that's a weird format, I don't understand.
Hold on.
Because it needs to be on Google Drive.
Let's try some more. This.
So this list, this is your
so
email,
it
right? So
actually
you're
gets
on there.
changed afterwards, it'll be saved in the drive, so you always wanna go through the drive.
Oh, okay.
Got it. Yeah. You always wanna go through the drive. Okay.
See if I find the link.
I know I can find it. That's the, no, that's a different one, that's the one.
email, there's a link to the drive as opposed to an attachment. If you click on the link to the drive, it'll bring up the most recent version of it. Because if it was attached before the drive updated, it'll attach the old version. But if you click on the link to the drive, go to the drive and then open it, it'll open the most recent one.
Where's the, the link on the email takes you to it.
Mhm.
So the original one with the agenda on it. There, now go to the drive part of it. There you go. It'll be in there.
Click the folder with today's date.
And still have it. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Are you not seeing it, Amanda? So I shared it two ways. I shared it with a link, and then I also shared it with you directly with your email. You should have gotten an invite in your email just now.
Should be clear down at the bottom of your email.
Right here, in that email?
Is anybody else having trouble?
No, right there, and then that had everything on it. Got it?
Okay, we got the 3 building permits, one for Kirk Buckholz for a storage shed, for Kent Hector, metal roof on a storage shed, and that Daniel Wilkins is a metal coast to coast for a carport type deal. Do you hear a motion to approve these 3 building permits?
So moved.
Moved by Cale,
Second.
second by Larry, all in favor? Approved, building permits approved. Okay, superintendent report.
Okay, so, on the street, the funded street project, that's a completely separate thing than some of the other things we're gonna have to go forward with doing. However, we may come into some money constraints. One of those was chip sealing Whittier Street, which we have to do because that street has no surface on it. I just got the oil prices in, so I'm hoping to get in some other street work on that. But I don't have the rock estimates on it, so I'll be working on that, but we know we have to do Whittier. The other thing that we had, I think, agreed that we needed to do, was go forward with a bunch of these alleys and intersections that are broke up, so I came up with the priority list, got those to Brock McAtee, who then, provided me pricing for those. We've done all of our other intersection work with them. We have bid before where we've made it competitive. He's staying in line with the same pricing he always has. However, this is quite a bit larger scale than what we've done before. So prior to putting out his numbers, I guess I want to have that discussion as to whether I don't know if we have another contractor that's capable of it, but it is a large scale project. So before we put these out there and say this is what his prices is, I guess we probably have to have this discussion. So we've been talking about this some time that I was working on getting these prices from Brock. So.
Well, we tried to get price from, I can't think of his name, from Bankelman.
Shaw.
Sure.
And Shaw, and then he didn't come back with any pricing.
Right.
So then we stayed with Brock last year.
That's right.
And so, unless Shaw is interested in bidding on it, I don't know what else we can do. I mean.
Okay. And part of the problem I have with it is in trying to get bids, one, we don't have available bidders or people able to do it. And the other thing is the necessity to get these things done. I mean, some of these things are failing. We've needed to have these done several years ago, and we finally have the ability to do that, some pricing in place. So if we're comfortable with that, I'll share these pricing and we can break them down and decide to do part of the work to make sure we're happy. We've done things in that manner. That way, you know, if we have a situation where somebody wants to proclaim they can do some of that work, we can make it available to them. I'm fine with that, but the city has to get these things fixed.
But he's running about the same as the other aprons and stuff that we've done before.
Pretty consistent with the pricing. This is a lot more complicated. A lot of these are the where the heavier trash truck has gone through for a couple years now and, broken the alleys out at the street. And, you know, these are the ones that are failing. There's a lot more work needs to be done, but these are the actual locations that are failing. So, you know, the total price, and this is a lot of intersections. I think there's, so there are 16 alley approaches on this list. And he's got a price of $13,000 to do 16 locations of fixing things that are failing. I mean, that would seem to be very economical. And I just realized the copies I made cut all the numbers off, so I apologize for that.
How's that gonna interfere with the trash truck, once he starts fixing it?
It's just gonna have to, I mean, that's what's caused it. We're just gonna have to deal with one end of the block at a time and have them back down. They're simply just going to have to deal with it for the 2-week cure time period. Brock's in a unique situation right now too, which has not been the case previously, where he has a crew that could start on this and stay on this. And I mean, that's pretty positive. And Brock's work usually lines up pretty quick.
You're saying 16 aprons for 13,000?
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're running from 20. There's 2,200 on a real bad one that's 11 by 25, but there's some in here that are $400, $300. He's basically just going by square footage and doing them. I mean, it's to me, it's a home run to get some needed work done.
That sounds pretty fair to me. I mean, doing that much, so. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Yes.
Second by Cale, second by David, all in favor? It's approved.
Secondary discussion on the same thing. We have street intersections of which we've spent a fair amount of money on. Of course, that's the same situation as losing the asphalt, only in our concrete. You know, a lot of these are drainage areas. One of them is, that's Spencer, and I'm trying to think of which one it is, and I can't find it on my list. Spencer and Benton. It's where the water spills over. It's a 50 by 50 area. That's $22,000 just for that one intersection, to compare that to all the alley work that we're talking about doing. But there is about $54,000 worth of intersections on this too. And again, this goes back to that deal where they're pretty high priority based on either what condition they're in, how heavily they're traveled, and the fact that a lot of them are drainage. This is the part where I think our commitment forward, we have a fair amount on our special highway. What was that number, Lila?
47,000 approximately. You should have it there on the paper, but,
Okay. Oh. Okay.
Did you say Spencer and Benton?
Yes.
That's the grocery store street?
Yes. Yeah, it's where the water overflows and goes down Benton and then goes through that area. It's just kind of where the water turns back over to the north side of Spencer Street.
All chunky
It
up there, right?
cascades across there, yeah. Yep.
So that's something he can get on, sorry.
What direction is that water supposed to go?
The way it's going. It will still go the way it's going. We won't change that.
Straight down Spencer?
Yes. And so its overflow goes down Benton and goes through the front of the grocery store, unfortunately. But yeah, on the really heavy rain, it splits at that point. I'd be really hard pressed to try to change that. I don't think Spencer can take more, and when it rains that hard, you just have.
Is that one of the leading causes for the theater being flooded when it was a really bad downpour, because you're getting both those coming down at the same time?
That was
But that's because there's cars up in front of it, too.
Okay.
I mean, literally, that just pools right there when that happens. It'll actually go by there at.
If the cars are not there.
Extreme if cars are not there.
Yeah, if the cars would back up 2 feet, the water would run through, but when the cars are all parked along there, you take from the grocery store, the museum, and the theater, it's getting right up there and going in a few of them.
Yeah. And I do believe this other work, the other, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8 intersections at $54,000 is something we absolutely must do. However, I don't think we must commit to that tonight. If we get started on the alleys, we have a start, we get a grip on some of these other things, it might be better just to know that these estimates are in place and that we need to get the work done, And we may have to lean that down to get some more chip sealing or something done. I mean, we just have way more work to do than what we have, money to fill the hole. So
Was that Spencer and Benton the one that's the most critical?
it is very critical, mostly because of the water. I mean, it's a heavily traveled, because it's not a truck route, but it is a truck route. It is a storm route, and it is a drainage as well.
And will we be replacing the street from Main Street up to Spencer there?
Yes.
So would it be better to have that done before they came in, or would it be
One
better
won't affect
afterwards?
the other, because the apron part of it, I think, is actually salvageable. We have to be just really careful not to change the drainage on that. So this would basically be the flat of the intersection and leave as much of the apron work as we could. That may be a case. If that is the case, and I want to look at that more specifically, because when we do that street, we don't want to come up against old concrete
Right.
if it needs replaced, and I have not taken that into direct consideration. But I know the intersection needs replaced, being it's one of those that's going to be replaced by street up to that point. I think that might be a sticking point as to its priority. But I think it'd be best to be aware of the information, and that, we have other priorities we need to do, but we might have to pick and choose on those just due to cost.
Okay.
So I think that's suspending those and going with all the alleys
That
right
one
now.
short street that you did last year, you put the top on it, kind of in conjunction with the county,
Yes, Whittier. Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of washed
Mm-hmm.
down again. Well, you're gonna go back in and,
That's the chip seal street. So basically
okay.
what it'll be is, we'll do a double chip seal on it.
Oh,
You really don't tell the difference between that and actual hot mat pavement. That base is there just to hold up a double chip seal, which will be put on. That's one of our must-dos.
okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And then, just a question I've had, potholes, are we gonna go around and?
As weather permits, we've been out, we go out, there's a
Okay.
lot of.
I know, I just-
Yes.
They did get those in front of the mortuary in the Christian church, which was good
And
because,
the crossovers too, they're just building.
yeah, and the crossovers
okay.
up there, so.
Well, I mean, that's, I just had.
Nope, no offense at all. It just matters,
so I
there's
can- I
a
can
lot of
answer
that
them,
work to do.
so.
When it's hotter, it's easier to do them,
Right.
and the work stays there better.
Yeah.
So, and we have the materials, we can.
JR, back the truck up a little bit, of the 16,000 for the 13, the 16 hours for 30,000. Are there any of them that are on the verge that 2 or 3 years down the road, you can see we're gonna have to purchase them? Because at that price, I'm almost at the point of saying, instead of dealing with it 2 or 3 years down the road, go ahead and get them now.
I
If it's
think
not
that
economical.
We can, yes, and I think we can add if we find out we're not gonna do chipsing and we're gonna do these other things, that's exactly the discussion I had with Brock. At that price, I may be looking at doing more of those, but yet you have to go back to the priority of those streets, because
Right.
you might end up using the money on those.
Right, okay,
Because the alley failing is a completely different thing than a street
right.
intersection failing. So, yes, with those
Okay.
prices, you're absolutely right. But it just don't think we have enough money to commit to doing more of those right now, with as many things are in the air.
They are on the Spencer intersection.
Yes.
Should we go ahead and get that on his list, so, how busy he gets, get all our stuff in line now?
My understanding with the crew he has, I think we can, if by the next meeting or two, if we want to commit to doing those things, I mean, I'll basically put that in as it will be a commitment if needed, but I want to look at it first. But yeah, I would indicate that to him right away and come back with that recommendation just for that new street. Yes. Because that is the end of the improvement on Benton Street.
Yeah. I feel like we should already get that on the books, get ready to go.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a bad spot, and we're probably gonna get a nice rainy summer.
Yeah, it's just a further commitment. I mean, he isn't gonna have it done by the next meeting cycle or anything, but
Yeah.
absolutely, if we want to commit to it, we sure can.
How much was that?
22,000, it's the most expensive one, 22.5. It's 50 by 50.
Do you think that still allows us enough to get the Whittier Street done then? without.
It has to. I mean, there is no option on Whittier Street.
Right.
We will deal with a washed out mess if we don't chip
Right.
seal it. We have to do that. What we don't have to do is what we need to do, which is chip seal all of College Street. We can fog College Street, which is basically buys you 2 years before you then need to put a chip seal on it. I anticipate that's where we'll go. But yeah, we have to do Whittier. I think we probably have to do this Spencer and the others, the alley failures are a must do. The only ones that are optional at this point is College Street, which could be quite inexpensive. We chip seal it. And we do have something that we can buy 2 years' time on. And the expense of fog sealing is, it isn't 10% of a chip seal. And it buys you time, which is what you're doing every time you chip seal or, you know, because you had chip seals up until it builds over, all you're doing is buying time and saving the asphalt. So it's just a cheaper way to hold its condition until you can do more with it. So I would anticipate, just based on how we're going, what we're coming up with for estimates, of probably fog sealing it.
That will buy us 2 years.
At max.
Aside from Main Street, would College Street be the most heavily driven street in town?
And College and River probably, yeah, I would say they're real close. I would say College is probably a little bit heavier.
And Benton.
Ben?
And
Yeah,
Benton.
Benton, unfortunately.
It gets a lot of it too. College, Benton, and River, and then you got Spencer and Main Street, probably your highest traffic ones.
Yeah.
So,
So,
Rory, you wanting to make a motion to go ahead and include, the Benton intersection then, for that 22,000?
I would, yeah, and as long as, like JR said, we can get College, we're not gonna, put that in any danger of losing what we spent there.
yes,
Yeah.
that's quite an investment there.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it absolutely has
We
to
gotta
be
keep
both.
that thing
Right.
in
And,
good
and I
shape.
want to be cautious on that fog sealing buying you 2 years. It buys you up to 2 years.
Yeah.
Conditions still based on cracking and surface wear. And that's one that, I pointed this out a long time ago, we're probably it's gonna be hard to realize this just because we haven't done a lot of chip sealing in the last few years, but if you don't follow up on the investment, the street gets in a condition where then you know, go back to looking at replacing it, so. But yes, fogging will buy us up to 2 years. So I would think at this point, based on the spending and what we're looking at for intersections, the greater project, and just simply trying to deal with the potholes that we have, we're probably fog sealing College. And chip sealing just Whittier. That's when I dig into reserve, and
Yeah, I
deep
mean,
into reserve.
we gotta start fixing these streets, and we might as well start.
this intersection at Benton and Spencer, how are you gonna reroute traffic?
Just have to make it the next block over.
Just close
What we'll probably do is put no through trucks up at the highway, because a lot of people use that. They're just gonna have to use the other one. Remember, that's not a truck
Yeah.
route. It's a place where trucks drive.
Can we do that?
Not a truck route.
Can we do that
Prohibit
at
truck
harvest
stops.
time?
And if they go down that
Load the
street,
trucks off?
if they go down that street, they will have to find their way around it. Any other traffic will find their way.
So it'll be barricaded off.
And we'll have to barricade it off at the street and the block back,
Yeah.
allowing the citizens who live there to get inside there. No, it won't be easy, but
They'll find their way around.
yeah. And there's no doubt in my mind, once a person would start on that one, they're gonna stay on until it's poured. It's the cure time that we're talking about.
Mhm.
You know, it obviously would be a rush project.
Okay, so is that still a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to get that Spencer fixed.
Okay, Kale's made the motion to do Spencer and Benton. Second by David, all in favor? Approved.
Okay, the next thing I have, Justin Gardner had 21 hours past his anniversary date of vacation time. Typically, anytime they're under 40 hours, we allow them to carry it over into the next year. Just need council's authorization to do so. We can push those forward.
Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Been moved by Amanda,
Second.
second by Larry, all in favor? Approved.
Okay? Fire alarm specialists, they do the inspections on the power plant for the fire alarm system. We needed to renew that, contract with them to do that. Lila, do you have a copy of that?
I do. You need to see it?
Well, I have a copy here. I'm just making sure it's the same one. It basically started March, 1st.
Yes.
For a 2-year contract at $695 a year.
Yes,
Okay, I just want to make sure it was the same one before I pass it to the mayor to sign it,
yes.
if approved, of course.
$695
A year,
a year
and it's a 2-year contract.
for 2 years?
Yep.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the fire alarm specialist to come in and check all the alarms and stuff for $695 a year for 2 years? Been moved by Dara,
Second.
second by Amanda, all in favor? Approved.
Okay. The work that Tim Riley did, of course, he bought that ground up there in the industrial park. We're gonna be getting a transformer, for that electrical service for that. I just wanted to run it by the council. We've always done on new construction, granted, these are bins, a little bit different, but we've always provided the electricity as long as it's within reason to the proposed load. We've discussed that. I don't have the numbers yet, but based on the timing, I just need the council's approval to provide that, and I'll clarify the actual cost once we have that. We don't have an estimate from the transformer company yet on that, but that's what we would normally do for a new construction electrical service.
Need to hear motion for the transformer. Moved by David, second by Cale, all in favor? Approved.
And that's kind of a weird motion because we didn't give it a not to exceed, but I will come back with the number. It's just, it's just what we do. So I'll come back with that, and we'll
How big is it?
have to authorize the amount. It'd be like a 115 kVA. It'd be a pad mount like we normally do. I hate to throw numbers out there. The prices on stuff vary quite a bit, but I would guess in the 2,500 would probably be quite a bit more than what it'll actually cost if it's priced normally. At the last meeting, we discussed about the theater employees' wages. Of course, they were basically laid off due to the closing of the theater with COVID. And since then, it's come to me that they're actually, for what they're going to get, is possibly as much, if not more, than what they were getting. The reason I bring this up is when they was filing for unemployment, we had the discussion of finding out what they're going to get paid, have a discussion about it as to whether we want to do anything. It would appear as though they're going to get at least as much as they was making for their unemployment. Is that correct, Lila?
Yeah, that's correct. As
Okay.
long as their benefits are approved. I haven't gotten that far in the process, but if their benefits are approved, yes.
Yes. And there's no reason they shouldn't be, because it's for part-time. I mean, it does fit all of the criteria. If they apply for it properly, they should receive it, right?
That's not for me to decide. My understanding.
I understand that.
Yeah, my
Okay.
understanding is probably yes. I don't know how the state treats it if they have another job and they are currently working, which some of them are. So I don't know, but
Okay. Okay. I think that was the general understanding, is that it should apply, but that's not for the city to decide. I understand, but I think that's the interpretation of it. Anyway, of course, with so much unemployment being applied for, obviously nobody's received the benefits, so we'll have to see how that works out. But that's what it looks like it'll be. The last item I have is on the electrical project. Of course, the hang-up has been the material for that. That's still in the same place. Still attempting to get the material through Standing Electric, who is obviously Bill Keller, and that we purchase all of our material through. So still very much want to move forward with electrical work. I don't want to suggest we do that till we can get the material.
We're gonna have to call him again?
I think so. So, anyway, that has not been forgotten. I've had several phone calls since the last week trying to get something resolved with that.
But you just talked to Bill once.
Yep. Yeah, it was reiterated to me that that'd be a lot of work. Could be mistakes. So
But that was by his help.
Yeah.
Not by Bill.
Yeah, and I haven't taken the time to see if I can decipher it or not. See if that's
Maybe we need to make our phone call to Bill and find out if they're going to do anything or not.
Basically where we stand is we have an estimate from another provider for material through the contractor who I've been negotiating with. The city's position is, from my stance, is we would like to get our material from Stanley.
Yeah.
Having trouble getting it done.
Yeah, I agree. We need to get it from Stanion if we can because of everything he's done for our community. And I think he just got to get his guys on track here.
Yep.
Well, if you want to call him again, if you want me to be on the phone call, let me know and we'll call him.
Will do. That's all I have.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept and file the superintendent report?
So move.
Moved by Cale,
Second.
second by Amanda, all in favor? Approved. Attorney report, Warren.
I had been previously asked about the access road file. Mike had brought it to the city offices, as people are not allowed to go in the city offices. I think it's Mike's anticipation that he's going to try and come up and get it at some point in time. He had brought a substantial number of files, is my understanding, up here, and included in those files was the access road file. He says he can probably find it in 30 seconds as opposed to me coming up here and rooting through all files. So we're just waiting on Mike. I know he's scheduled to retire at the end of this week, so I think he's trying to get through that, and then it'll be brought to my office. There have been concerns expressed to several council members, I believe, regarding orders being solicited online for food that is being prepared and then delivered. And I think that it is, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the two people who have had this brought up to them are Cal and Amanda. And Amanda contacted me on Saturday regarding this. And there is a restaurant in Atwood, I believe, that is now moving to McCook, that has been selling brisket and pork ribs and other things, taking pre-orders, bringing it in here. They're not actually selling it on the street. They're just taking orders and delivering it. And then there are also individuals who are in town that solicit orders either on Facebook for tamales or bread or home-baked goods, what have you. Or individuals who go around with food attempting to peddle it, essentially. And is that subject to the permit requirements? And I suppose the answer is that needs to be up to the council. I have pulled, Lila has included Chapter 5, Article 1 in the materials for today. I have gone through and highlighted the relevant portions. I guess before I go on to that, did I adequately summarize the concerns that have been brought to the council members?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess my assessment of it is, are they soliciting? The answer is yes. Under definitions, Article 1, Section 5101, soliciting shall mean and include any one or more of the following activities, and that is seeking to obtain orders for the purchase of goods, wares, merchandise, foodstuffs, services of any kind, character, or description, whatever, for any kind of consideration, whatever, or, and then it goes on, which is not really relevant to the discussion at the moment. So they are, in fact, soliciting. The complication then becomes in canvasser or solicitor. What the definition of that is, it states an individual, whether a resident of the city or not, whose business is mainly and principally carried on by traveling either by foot, automobile, motor truck, or any other type of conveyance from place to place, from house to house, or from street to street, taking or attempting to take orders for sale of goods, wares, and merchandise, personal property of any nature whatsoever for future delivery. Now, the issue in whether they are a canvasser or a solicitor is that they are not going from house to house. They are posting online, and they are bringing it available for pickup. Peddler is traveling by foot, automotive vehicle, or any other type of conveyance from place to place, from house to house, from street to street, carrying, conveying, transporting goods. There's a list. And exposing these same for sale. Now, there are people in town who are peddlers. They go around and offer food at lunchtime, is the concern that I have had brought to me. But then again, it is the going around selling from place to place. The statute continues, or who, without traveling from place to place, shall sell or offer the same for sale from a wagon, automotive vehicle, railroad, boxcar, or other vehicle or conveyance. The issue I have with that is that they're not selling them. They're taking pre-orders and then they're delivering them. That one who solicits orders as a separate transaction, makes deliveries to purchasers as part of a scheme or designed to evade the provisions of the article shall be deemed a peddler. Looking at the thing as a whole, they're not going from place to place, and they're also not selling on the street. And I think where I'm going with this is that while I think what is happening, especially on the Facebook pages or whatever, falls within the definition of soliciting, what is happening does not fall within the definition of canvasser or solicitor or peddler, as far as they would need a canvasser, solicitor, or peddler's permit. And so I don't know if when this was drafted, it was contemplated that people may be taking online orders on Facebook and delivering food to individuals or allowing them to come and pick it up. And so I'm not sure that the statute doesn't, it's up to the council if the statute needs to be amended. If we need to put that whether they're going from place to place or posting online to solicit from individuals in the community. My concern with that comes in that effectively shuts down all of the online transactions that go on. I mean, I don't know that the council wants to take it to that extreme, because if you're offering goods for sale, I mean, that can be anything. That's if somebody has something that they post on Shine Candy Buy Sell Trade that they need a peddler's license. I mean, I don't know to what extreme the council wants to take this, and so I am needing some clarification before I can advise. I understand that, selling a couch is different than selling food, one for the health and safety concerns, but I'm not sure how far the council wants to take this. I think that they are in fact soliciting, because they're seeking to obtain orders for the purchase of goods, wares, merchandise, foodstuffs, services of any kind, character, or description whatsoever. But they're not going house to house, door to door, street to street, doing it. They're posting in a forum. And so I don't know how serious the council wants to come down on this. I think the online is different from the individuals who go around, products in hand.
Lila,
Yeah.
did you happen to put something on the clerk's link just to see how other cities handle?
I did, and I got no responses, but I just sent it
Got no
out this morning, yeah.
What do we do like the Swans guy? Does he get anything?
Nope.
Well, that would be someone who's actually would fall into this. That's
Yeah.
Right.
peddler.
Well, I don't know,
Yeah,
that
he goes door to,
he doesn't go door to door.
he doesn't,
They
but
only
once
go
he
to-
gets you on the list, then he's going door to door in a way.
Yeah.
And so,
Customers.
And saying I'm guilty, we have purchased tamales on Facebook before.
Right, but I mean, I don't know that, I don't know that that's, my concern comes with, I mean, the statute needs to be read as a whole. You can't piecemeal this, we're gonna follow this, we're not gonna follow that. I mean, the ordinance, not the statute, excuse me, needs to be read as a whole. And reading into this, and only the council can speak to the intent, but as I read it, it's the going around knocking on doors saying, hey, do you want this? Hey, do you want, it's the approaching people. It's not the just putting it out there in general for anyone who wants to come to you.
And I would surmise it's probably, like everything else, supply and demand. The supply or the demand right now is heavy because we're in an unprecedented time. And people can't get out and they're bored and don't have a lot of options at their disposal. I would imagine when this is ended, this will probably kind of go away on its own.
I think,
Could be wrong.
yeah, some of the concern is you've got restaurants, businesses that are following,
Everything right.
inspected, and
Yep.
they're doing things by the books, and yet you have people that are making
I know.
things in their own home, and they're going online and selling. It's that,
I know.
So are we,
I don't know how much,
are we talking about
Reputation as far as
out,
how many times per year you
Yeah,
can
6
provide?
times.
6 times
Then
per
you
year.
can sell to a community or at a farmer's market. The state says you can do it 6 times in 1 year
That's one item.
without collecting sales tax or having a license.
Right. So there's a limitation
So,
that says.
but-
But is the limitation that you have to do it at a farmer's market? Or is it just that you can sell it on the street?
It's just
Because,
selling it anywhere.
Just
Okay.
any-
If it's prepared in your kitchen, that is. But if it's in a commercial kitchen, there's no restriction on where you can sell your product. Unless you walk into a city and go door to door and try to sell tamales or
yeah. And I think that was the concern with the guy
or
set up.
brisket is the
Yeah.
thing apparently. But they're a commercial restaurant. They take orders remotely, online, and they deliver. So that's no different than me, posting I have new coffee for sale, and I take orders and I ship it to them, or I could hand deliver it anywhere I wanted to because of the commercial license or whatever.
I think the issue becomes, do you pay, and this has come up before in these kind of discussions, so you have somebody who is profiting from their business without paying either property tax or having brick and mortar. There used to be, and this doesn't make this right, I'm not trying to make this precedent, but there used to be a Texas Red that would set at the grocery store. And the reason he was able to do that is he had permission to cooperate with someone who did have a brick and mortar store to allow him to be there at certain times to sell his product. Now, whether that has any basis in making this go one way or the other, I don't know. But I know at one time that's how it was decided for someone who didn't pay taxes on property and have an open inspected business to provide food. They had to have someone basically sponsor them. That is not written. That's just how it was done. So I don't want to overstate that, but I know that has been a part of the discussion.
Well, now the state, you couldn't do that now with the state rules. It has to be prepared in a commercial kitchen, all food.
Mm-hmm.
It could be handed out, like already packaged, ready to go, as long as it's prepared in a commercial kitchen.
And that's how things change over time too, because this is 15 years ago too.
Yeah.
As far as soliciting, I don't see how when you post it, be it on a piece of paper at a post office or post it on Facebook, that's soliciting business. You're saying I have something and it costs something, that's soliciting. To me,
Right.
that's just the wording is just missing.
it is, no, it absolutely is soliciting, but what I'm talking about is, they are soliciting, but I don't know that they rise to the level of a canvasser, solicitor, or peddler, because the definition for soliciting is a different subsection than that of a canvasser, solicitor, or peddler. And it's when you rise to those three that you are required to have that permit. And I just don't know that it rises to that. Now, we do have that additional increase in 1% city sales tax, and so I don't know how we go about enforcing if you are selling in our city,
Hadn't even thought about that.
that you need to be collecting that 1% additional sales tax and remitting it to the state because we had this go into effect, and I think that, I mean, and the home kitchen is a completely, I guess, separate issue, so we'll just deal with the commercial kitchen right now, we'll break that down. The commercial kitchen, I mean, I don't know how we go about informing them when because they post, you know, it'll be this plus tax. Well, that plus tax is that plus 9.5. And so I don't know how the council would want to enforce that. I don't know I don't know that it's the council's job or the police's job, or whose job it would be to police Facebook stating this is.
I'm surprised they haven't got caught by the state already on it.
Can I interject something real quick?
Sure.
So I sent an email to the contact that I have at the sales tax department, and he responded, and basically what he said was that, so as far as us, if we issue a license to somebody to do sales of any kind, we get their sales tax number, and that's, you know, I report that at the end of the year to the state of all our transient vendors. And where this didn't fall into that category, basically all we can do is if we can get the vendor's information, the party's first name, last name, phone number, email, that kind of stuff, and just send it to the state. They contact businesses, that's what they do. That's their job, to follow up with these businesses and make sure that they're collecting the appropriate sales tax. So it's not up to us to enforce that, according to him.
I have a quick question. Is the main contention of this out-of-town businesses competing with local businesses that are following the rules and doing the things?
I think part of my concern was when it was first brought to Kel and I's attention, I didn't know what the deal was, other than they were setting up in front of True Value. Now, did that mean they were setting up and selling food, or was it just the pre-order? Which, come find out, I think it was just pre-order. Now, if they're setting up and bringing extra food with them, thinking they're going to catch people coming in and going out of the businesses, then that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, my understanding was just for delivery of already ordered food.
I'm asking because I haven't heard any of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I haven't heard about it either, but I understand. I've seen where the guy from Atwood's been advertising, you know, by having stuff in the post office and warehouse and Facebook and stuff. And, you know, like when we're having we're by Timberfest, guess what the state does to us? They send us out all these packets, and we have to give them to the vendors.
Mm-hmm.
And the vendors are supposed to have a sales tax number, so they're supposed to fill out whatever they've sold and send it in. That's all we do is we hand it out. From there on, we said, we're not policing any of this. We'll just hand out the packets to those vendors. Well, someone like that should have a packet handed out to him, and he better start paying his sales tax anyway and whatever else to. I don't know how you control it.
Yeah. I don't know.
Enforcement, I just don't see how you enforce it.
Well, I think a lot of the things that we don't have to enforce it, we just have to, if we see it, we have to report it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know, I guess if someone sees it online and brings it to the council's attention or Lila's attention or my attention or someone's attention, that it just needs to be, I guess, reported to Lila. Would you be able to, you have a contact at the department that you would be able to submit that to?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess if anyone becomes aware of that, then screenshot it or print screen it or whatever and send it to Lila, and so she can forward it on to the state. That's what I would think. As far as handling that. Now, I guess I don't know what the council wants to do with the concerns about people who sell tamales, or anyone who goes around at approximately lunchtime with food in a portable object.
When the
who it is.
Well, and I guess I'd like to see if Lila gets any responses back from any other cities, because we can't be the first city to
Yeah.
deal with this. I mean, and,
Especially now, I think.
well, and when the ordinance was written, we didn't have internet sales, and we didn't, you know, as things
Right.
evolve and things change.
But I guess, right, I mean, yeah, seeing that what happens on internet sales, but I'm talking about the peddler, which is different than the internet. I mean, my understanding is there's been concern about both the internet solicitation and whether a license is required for an individual going around selling food ready for immediate consumption that has been prepared in a residential kitchen.
Guilty of that one too. He just comes to my office every other day. I have to.
I mean, you're not guilty. I mean, you don't have to have a license to buy from a peddler. You have to have a license to sell.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't know if the council wants me to reach out to Cody for enforcement of this ordinance. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the council wants to do. It was brought to my attention on Saturday that there are there are citizens who are concerned, and they're concerned on 3 different levels. One is the commercial kitchen, who is taking pre-orders and bringing it for delivery and delivering it in front of Owen. The second is individuals who are soliciting pre-orders online to make a set number of whatever it is they're making, pies, cakes, bread, tamales, whatever, and then offering them for delivery. The third one is someone who goes around town selling pre-made food items ready to eat, carrying it with, and falls under the definition of a peddler under 5-101 subsection D. And so I don't know, for the commercial, we're just going to report to Lila so she can report to the state if someone's selling here. For B, we're waiting to hear Lila get back with what the cities have done with people posting online for home cooked goods. But for C, the peddler, I just don't know how the council wants to proceed. Do you want me to talk to Cody regarding enforcement of it? I mean, I don't want, if we let this slide, what else are we, I mean.
I still come back to, is this an issue of out-of-town businesses competing with local businesses?
No, the thing we're discussing immediately right now is the individual who goes around town selling lunch items at lunch.
I'm guilty of it too.
Are you guilty are you going around selling things, not are you going around buying things?
Fine,
Well,
I
and
understand
if it's
that.
even brought to their attention, maybe they don't realize that they have to have a peddler license.
I
Just
would
bringing
doubt
it to
that
their
they-
attention
Okay.
might resolve that issue, that they would pay the
Right.
peddler's fee and be fine and.
How much is a peddler's fee?
$25.
I thought it was more than that.
Is there any county or state health code?
License fee is $50 a day or $250 a year. That's in 107.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at the investigation fee.
So she said $1 a day or $200 a year?
$50.
$50 a day or $250 for a whole year. I don't think they probably realize, that they need a peddler's deal. And then also they probably can't afford it, so,
It's a bad situation.
it is.
Right, I mean, and it's not really something that I want to.
No.
Question is it harming anyone? How do you want to get into enforcing it? And I'm not saying you ignore it, that's not my point at all. Is it a priority of enforcement? Because if you say we have to do this, then who and how and who still does it anyway? I don't know. Who's it harming at this point? I mean, is there any place that's taking sales away from someone?
That's my point.
Taking sales away to the extent that we're harming a business that does pay taxes.
My point is, you've got people who live off the government and take advantage of the system, and here's someone out there actually trying to earn their own way.
What exactly?
I have a hard time
Where's
saying no to
the
that.
harm?
Yeah.
Is the think is, strange as it might sound, might be the greater deciding factor. You know, you have somebody who all of a sudden is doing tens of thousands of dollars worth of business, and nobody's going in the local place, then it's an obvious item. Is it that big yet?
If you ask me if he drives me crazy, yes.
I know,
But I do give him the right to try to earn his own way. I'm not gonna do it.
I know.
Yeah.
Because
Just have to be
You just
careful
wanna-
if you let this slide, what, you know, you're setting precedent.
That's my thing, is
You're
we're on the record stating, are we going to let this slide? And if someone wants to do this, and they are doing however much, and they say, well, you decided that if someone's trying to earn their own way, they don't have to comply with this. We have now established that, no, we're not going to. It's completely, I mean, I'm not trying to be obstinate about this, but it is an ordinance, and it is the duty of the police to enforce the ordinance. It is my duty to,
At a given level, and I'll say that because as the ordinances are written, there's many things stated that are enforced based on opinion. Although it's written, there's a lot of things that are based on the value of what its harm is. And I know exactly what you're saying. I've had this discussion many times with Mike Day, but there's gray areas in everything you do, because every time you drop a foot to enforce something, you set a precedent in another area. And that's where it comes into the, what harm is it doing? Because there is a factor, and here's an example of that. When you're doing property cleanups, a house that is unpainted in a neighborhood that has all nice houses in it is a complete eyesore. In another part of town, that very same house is not. When you set the precedence that you enforce everything to the letter of the law that you can, you get to the point you can't enforce anything. And I think that's where the point I'm trying to make is the gray area that's operated in is the common sense area. Where's the harm? You can enforce it when it becomes something that is causing harm to someone, be it a business or an individual or the public at large. But you don't have to enforce every time the grass is 7 inches tall, which is the limit on it being mowed. Am I making my point? I hope so, because it's who and how many and how bad is it harming someone?
Now back to the people from Atwood, that's a whole different subject for me. And I don't know what we do, Lauren, except for what you said is report it as soon as we see it.
well, I mean, and
That incident, I
and
totally
I don't
agree.
know that they're not doing, I don't know that they're doing anything wrong. They very well could be collecting the 9.5% sales tax. And if they're doing that, I don't see any violation
Right.
of the ordinance. But, and I get what I get what JR is saying, and I get what you're saying, and I understand that. But at the same time, when all of us took office, we had to raise our hand and state we were going to uphold the Constitution of the U.S., of the state of Kansas. We're going to uphold the codes of the city, and I have to bring it up. I mean, I don't know that the response isn't, we just tell them that they need a peddler's license and to apply for it, and I don't know if they.
And that could be a case-by-case basis where they come to the city council and plead their case, and we can decide if we want to waive it or not.
Right.
But right now, we don't even know that they're aware that they have to have a peddler's
Right.
license. And maybe that's the direction we go, is make them aware of the ordinance, and they're more than welcome to come meet with the city council, and we can make a determination at that point.
Right,
maybe
and I think if they, like you said, you're not, whoever, you brought up, I'm not gonna fault anyone for trying to work to make a living. If they're taking that initiative and
That's
comes
what I'm saying, we're limping
before.
around town. He can barely get around. It just, but I'm applauding him just for not trying.
Great. And I keep saying it, I'm not trying to be.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to create an issue, but the fact of the matter is we have this ordinance.
It's a tightrope.
Yeah.
It really is.
Because it's not like Hale's not trying to make a living. He's got a brick and mortar. He's still trying to make a
Yeah,
living.
he's doing everything right.
But is somebody that's selling stuff without correct license and paying sales tax and that hurting other businesses that are
Right.
trying to follow the rules? I mean, everybody's trying to
Yeah.
make a living.
I think the only thing that he could have trouble with would be the state, really. The whole commercial kitchen thing. They're really strict about that.
Mhm.
And you can, well, this, that thing on Main Street, they get that done. Then he could probably get his license prepared, like 202 or whatever, to make it completely legitimate.
That's a ways out.
That may not happen, it may be, yeah, it might be a while, or maybe someone will let him prepare the. But,
The spectrum of people you're talking about is one extreme to the other.
oh, I know, it's,
Too, though, that's like you're casting a net here.
oh, I know, but according to the state, that's what they're gonna expect.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what they want,
Exactly.
so,
Yeah.
Knew it'd be an interesting discussion for
Well, what do you think we should do? Let them know that they should be applying for a peddler's license to start with?
yeah, talk to him about that and about preparation, I guess.
And I don't know that the preparation is the city's responsibility and to
No.
enforce as it is the state, but the peddler's license, we, like I said, they might
Please
not
find
know
out
that they
about
need
the
to have one and they
peddler's
can
license,
come visit with the council and we can make a
Yeah.
determination based on case by case.
I think it's a good start, and then we can encourage them to come, and if they simply cannot afford it or feel like it's undoable, they can ask the council for leniency or whatever, but, yeah. I think it's a good start.
Just have them notified. Do you want to have me send a letter? Do you want, I mean, generally, I mean, the way it works with a cleanup, or it's usually you send a letter, if they don't respond, I send a letter, if they don't respond, I send a notice of suit. So do you, I mean, I guess, do you want to send a letter? Do you want me to send a letter? Do you,
The enforcer, exactly.
I can,
So just
do you want me to have them served by the sheriff?
Cody's not here, Elizabeth.
We won't.
Stop on him.
This is when he gets thrown out of setting the meeting. Cody is
The enforcer.
Well,
the notifier.
So who's gonna scan Facebook, cause that's,
Nobody.
that's where it comes from. Well, that's my point, of
Yeah.
I don't know what you,
And that's why I like to
you
see
have
what
to-
other cities have, if they've
Right.
implemented, adopted
Right.
something into their ordinance with internet
That's
sales
smart.
before we go forward on that subject matter.
Do we want to wait on the peddler's deal too, till we have more information, what Lila
So
finds
Lauren,
out?
will this affect the tamales on Facebook?
I don't think so. I think that, like I said, there's three separate issues here. There's the commercial kitchen from Atwood. There's the tamales on Facebook, and to be completely honest, literally anything else on Buy Sell Trade or Northwest Kansas Buy. I mean, all of those things, if we're going to go there with the internet sales. There's the commercial kitchen, there's the internet posting, then there's the actually going door to door, business to business. And so I don't necessarily know that we need to be as worried about the Facebook
Good, okay.
side of it as we need to be.
Don't mess with the fat guy.
Well, but it's not specified, that does not fall within any purview of our statute. It all is going from place to place soliciting sales. It's not, hey, I'm advertising, you come to me. They're not canvassing, they're not soliciting, they're not peddling as defined by the city code. And so that's why I do think, and I will go on record in stating, I don't think that's within the scope of it. And if we want to adopt something new and we want to make it within the scope of the ordinance, then the council needs to vote on a new ordinance or tell me how to draft it and then vote on what I draft. But as right now, the confines of the statute do not pertain to online sales. And so that's, I mean, I guess that's why I'm more on the peddling than I am on the basically, it's an advertisement. It's advertising saying, hey, I have this, and people come to them and buy it.
Yeah, I don't think we can touch that at all. There's no way. That'd be no different than saying you can't advertise in our newspaper for something you're selling from another town.
Right.
It'd be no different. We can't do that.
Now, this has my mind's going two different directions here. Do Girl Scout cookies every year. Does that fall under the Girl Scouts? Do they already have the okay to do that, or?
They apply for and we waive
We
the
waive.
council.
Well, that's already done, okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
they apply for a peddler's license. Yeah, no, they apply for a peddler's
We're not taking
license.
away your cookies, David.
My cookies or tamales? That's what that guy.
And there's a lot of things we waive when it comes to 4-H, Girl Scouts, you know, all kinds of things. Even the vendors during car show or certain events, we just waive the fees. Yeah, you know, it's a one-day deal, or of course the Girl Scouts, it takes
Boy
longer than
Scouts,
that, but we waive those kind of fees, so.
But they do apply for the permit. I mean, they do.
And
They
that's
apply for
what-
the peddler's license.
I think the peddler is a different
Right.
issue
And
that we have ordinance that we should at least maybe
Right. I mean,
bring it to their attention.
yeah, and so you said your mom was going 2 places. One was Girl Scouts, and yeah, we have it on record that they've applied and
Modify it.
waived, but what was the other? Your mom was
Just in a tamale thing,
Okay.
I guess.
And they can
Yeah.
cookies there.
It's like you're walking a tightrope here.
Yes, I don't think I mean, the statute as it's written, I don't think applies to the posting online, hey, I have something. It's no different than posting in the newspaper, hey, I have something. It's the difference between saying, I'm available, you come to me,
Mhm.
and me, or whoever the salesperson is, going to the individual.
Right.
And we have the language in the ordinance for going to the individual. Which is, okay, so we will tell Cody to reach out. That'll go over well.
Okay, then we'll wait and see what Lila finds out on some more information with other cities, so. Okay.
We spent 3 times as much time talking about this than we $1 million during protest.
That's because there's clear guidelines for that. I don't believe that I have anything further.
Okay, do I hear a
Sorry,
motion?
I'm so sorry.
Motion to accept and file the attorney report.
So move.
Moved by Amanda,
Second.
second by Dara, all in favor, approved, motion. Okay, clerk report, Lila.
Okay. I shared with you guys, an email from Helen Dobbs. She has requested that we write a letter of support for, they want to have the scenic byway designated as a national scenic byway. And so I shared her email, and I also shared a letter that I drafted. I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to read it. It is out there. Scott, you have one in front of you.
Yes.
If you like the letter, Scott can go ahead and sign it. If you want to make changes to the letter, just let me know what you want changed.
Has everybody had a chance to read it?
I haven't seen the letter.
Should be on the share. It's called.
Yeah, it's on there, I just hadn't seen it.
Oh, okay.
I'm good.
Yeah, what I've read of it, I think it looks good.
Well, if you guys approve, there is one back there, Scott, in your pile for you to sign, and I can get it to Helen. I did send it to Helen and have her read it to make sure she thought it looked okay, and she did, so.
Everybody had a chance to look at it? Everybody?
Yep.
Somebody want to make a motion to go ahead with this, letter to the Federal Highway Administration on, putting the Land and Sky Scenic Byway on the National Scenic Byway?
So move.
Moved by Amanda,
Second.
second by Larry, all in favor? Approved.
Okay, and then the next thing is, so this is in regards to the theater, and I just need direction from the council, what your intent is as far as reopening the theater. The current executive order, of course, expires May 1st. And also, we would like to probably consider the direction of the county, our local county health department as far as mass gatherings. But I just wondered if it's the council's intent to open it as soon as we can, based on recommendations from the county health department and the governor.
Governor Kelly has issued a statement, Friday, I believe it was, that she intends to extend the stay-at-home order and possibly the prohibiting of mass gatherings possibly into May. So I know that this will still need to be addressed about when it terminates, but there was discussion that she does intend to, the stay-at-home order is set to expire next Monday, and the limitation on gatherings, it was set to expire May 1st, but my understanding is that she is looking at extending both of those items. And so, I guess, until we see what she does, the council can obviously make a tentative decision, but before anyone takes too much effort into getting that up and going, planning on May 2, it may not be feasible or
I
allowed.
was gonna say, as far as her orders are in place and until we get directive from the local health department, I mean, I would think we would want
Yeah,
guidance from
I
them,
think we
so.
want
I mean, I
direction
think
from both of them, the state and the local.
But you would absolutely want to involve the local
Mhm.
prior to making any
Yeah.
Right.
decisions.
I mean, I
Wouldn't
think,
be premature, would we?
I think we're pretty much
Their-
stuck until the
Their state of
governor,
emergency is based on
yeah.
certain things, but yeah, I mean, it would have to go through them.
So you get your answer there, that we'll
Yeah.
probably just have to
Yeah,
wait until,
yeah. I was just looking for clarification on that, make sure I was on the same page as everybody, because obviously when we go to open it, it's not gonna be able to be opened immediately, because then we'll have to get back on ordering our movies and all of that kind of stuff, so.
yeah.
But I know we can't do
Yeah,
anything.
because once we get the okay, it'll probably be 2 weeks after that before we can get a movie in here, probably.
I think
Maybe
so.
longer.
Yeah, okay. And then the other thing, a couple other things. The executive order that had to do with the disconnection of utilities, Lauren, have you heard anything about that, whether they are going to extend that?
I have not heard, whether they're going to extend the ban on disconnecting utilities, or, if they're going to, foreclosures and, evictions. I haven't heard how they're going to be handling that. My understanding is that Governor Kelly's office is working on revisions to at least one executive order that is supposed to be released sometime in the first half of this week. I think that it is still a moving, I think everything at this point is still a moving target, in that, there was a spike in cases over the weekend, I believe, and an increase in the number of deaths. And I think it's still too many variables for them to be able to give an exact timeline of what's going to be happening. But as soon as I hear, I will send notice, and obviously the council may want to, I guess, revise. I think we've put in the resolution that if it gets extended, that the council will extend.
Yeah, as far as the late fees, but the problem that we're gonna be seeing, I suspect, is currently we have, 6 customers who are now 2 months behind on their bills, or will be. I don't expect they haven't paid anything on the March bill, and I suspect they won't pay anything on the next one. And the problem with all of that is they're going to get so far behind that at some point when this gets lifted, I just want the council to think about how we're gonna help these folks with a payment plan or whatever we need to do so that they can pay their bill, because the bill is still due.
Have we notified them, and I know it's been made very clear in the order that it doesn't forgive anything, be it rent or utility bills. Have we provided anything to those people that say that it still will be owed?
Yes, so when this last month, I personally called everybody that I could. There was one that I didn't have a phone number for, so I could not reach out to them. But I did call and personally talk to everybody and explained it. and some of them have chosen not to do anything. My intent was, with this month, anybody that's still overdue is to send a letter explaining the executive order, explaining that it's just a temporary moratorium, kind of like what came out with the Midwest Energy bills, if you guys saw that, and asking them to contact City Hall regarding payment arrangements. The problem is I don't know what to do with payment arrangements. I don't know what the council would like me to do. You know, are we talking about you've got to pay your bill that was due in March, but for the one that's due in April, you can start making payments on that, 25% for the next 4 months? I don't know.
What does the council normally do?
We haven't run into this. We have a policy in place for customers who are unable to pay their bill. They can request an extension for up to 10 days past the disconnect date, and that's the policy. But that doesn't really.
Okay, and if they don't pay within that 10 days, then it gets shut off?
Right.
Haven't we set up payment plans for other people in the past, Lila?
If we did, it was before that policy was put into place. No, let me step back. We have set up payment plans, for example, if there was a water leak and it wasn't caught and their bill became $800, and that was something that was unavoidable and wasn't caught, then yes, we allow them to do payment plans. And I absolutely think that's something to consider, because we can't expect these folks, well, they've kind of done it to themselves, but some of them are going to have a pretty hefty bill if they don't start paying something, because if they're waiting for this to expire, the governor's order to expire, to pay anything at all, they're going to be in trouble. And so I feel like they should have to pay, like last month's bill anyway, and then maybe make payments moving forward, their current bill plus X percent of their outstanding balance or something like that. Because if we don't require them to pay something, they're going to get really, really far behind. There's a couple of them that owe a lot.
So that's the problem. I think I see with that is the moratorium on it is supposed to be for the time people can't pay it, and we have our rules for that payment. I understand what you're saying. They're going to get so far behind, but that's what the time is for. I don't think we have any choice but to enforce it the way it is, as long as we have reiterated that they still owe that bill. I don't know about extending it over a period of time to pay it, other than if there's some special circumstance.
Do we know if any of these people have lost their jobs due to the forced shutdown of any businesses?
As far as we know, and of course we aren't privy to everybody's personal lives, but as far as we can tell, the folks are still working in their current jobs.
So these are the regulars.
Yes.
Then, yeah, that pretty much states
Some
it.
of them might be getting stimulus money coming in the next week or so, that they might be able to have some extra.
Is it,
I think changing anything on it just makes it that much further out they get behind and get in trouble. I think we toe the line unless somebody comes to the council directly with some compelling reason to do otherwise. And they would have to ask that. We have our rules in place.
But we discussed this health officer because of that we want to make sure, this pandemic, we help people out if they need the help, but these people are working.
Also, if we're talking about the March bills that aren't paid, those bills were due in March. That was before anything was shut down.
Right.
Offering...
They were due, but we couldn't disconnect them for non-payment, so there's no report.
I understand that, but they're not the financial difficult time would have come for the bill that was due in April.
Right.
Due to COVID, not the bill due in March. I understand that you could not shut them down, but I see no reason why the city should be obligated to allow them leniency for a past due bill that was due prior to the implementation of the stay-at-home order or the temporary termination of utility shut-off. I mean,
They would still
just,
charge the late fee for March, though.
right, and you still charge late fee. I mean, I guess.
But not for April, there won't be a
Right,
there won't be a
right.
late fee for April.
Right, but, and you waived the late fee, but I think what Lila's suggesting is that the council discusses allowing them to make payment arrangements if they haven't, and the city has already waived the late fee for April, and I see no reason why the city should bear the burden of carrying essentially a loan on these individuals who, first of all, haven't made the March payment before this went into effect, and haven't made any payments on anything since then while they're still working. I'm just not sure why. I mean, the ordinance says if you don't pay, it will be shut off. If they come to the council with a reason, and they can ask the council for leniency, but I see no reason why it should be the duty of the council to babysit individuals in paying their bills. They know they're due. They've been sent notices. They've had it explained to them that this is a temporary provision. The council has already been gracious enough to waive the late fee for April. I don't see any reason why the council should bear the burden, or the city should bear the burden on carrying a loan for their utilities on a payment plan.
So, Lauren, let me make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. So if the thing ends May 1st, the governor's order May 1st, are you saying that the bill becomes due and payable then on that day, or they will be shut off?
I'm saying that the bill becomes due and payable. They have 10 days. They have 10 days from when it's payable. I mean, I think what we need to do is send it out and state, this is due and payable. If you're going to give them till May 15th, if it terminates on the 1st, then give them till May 15th to pay all of that bill. If they don't pay all of that bill, send them that notice, assess the late fee for May, and let them know that they have so long to, if they ask for the 10-day extension, they can ask for the 10-day extension, but then once that passes, shut it off. I don't know that it should be the burden of the city to.
So you want us to do our current policy, which is 10 days past shut off, so that would be May 7th.
So as of the day they lift the order, it was just as if they were that 1 month late plus the 2 they didn't pay, or whatever the amount of time is. In other words, so if it's lifted in the billing month of June or whatever, and they haven't paid for 3 months, the day that bill is due, it is all due. And if they do and if we allow, you have to make that the start point. So if at that start point this is somebody who's never asked for the extension or anything, they would be open to it. If they've asked for it before, then they would not qualify. It's just simply due.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, the governor's executive order states that you can't shut it off until May 1. I mean,
we're not obligated for
right. I mean,
we took the initiative ourselves.
I don't know that we need. I don't know that we
Definitely.
necessarily need to give that one, but it seems that the easiest course of action would be to act as if the bill was due, like it normally is. It's due on the date that it's due. Anything past that will have the late fee assessed, and go with the process as if it were a normal month. And then because technically, if the governor's order expires on May 1st, shut-off day is May 2nd. I mean, the city would be well within their right to do that. Now, I'm not suggesting that they do, but they would be within their right to do so. And I think that handling it in accordance with the normal practice on the days it would normally fall during that month of when the late notice would be sent out, when the penalty would be assessed, when the 10-day period they could apply for the extension would occur, that process, as if it was just a normal month, should be followed. I mean, and this might change. I mean, she could extend it until midway through the month, and then the council will need to decide whether we're doing it immediately or not. But I certainly don't. It is of course up to the council. but in ordinary circumstances, the council does not make, the ordinance says shut it off. And I understand if someone has an exception and they want to come to the council and ask for an exception. But if they have a bill from 3 months ago that they haven't paid just because they haven't paid it, just because they know it's not going to be shut off, I don't know. It is, of course, up to the council, but I think that is contrary to the purpose of the ordinance.
I think the only above and beyond is to remind them at each billing cycle, if we continue to have billing cycles, is that they do in fact owe that bill, and that they will owe it upon the lifting of the order.
And they will be shut off.
So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding correctly. So let's assume that May 1st is the expiration of the order. So May 2nd is shut off day. They can come in and apply for a 10-day extension per our normal policy, since that is a new shut off day, or are we waiting?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think when you send, you still need to send a late notice in late April. I mean, whatever date you would normally send a late notice with a penalty assessed, the notice still needs to be sent with the fact, I mean, they're waiving the penalty, and let them know that the governor's order prevents it from being shut off until May 1st, but if it's not paid in full, May 2nd is shut off day. I mean, it's up to the council. The council can say, no, we want to do something else, but based on what the ordinance says, based on what the governor's order is, that is the most applicable course of action without further action from the council to deviate from that already written already written procedure.
Okay.
Everybody agreeing with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's agreeing with that.
Okay. All right. With that, thank you. I just didn't know how to proceed with that. Okay. Then, let's see, just a couple of real quick things. The First National Bank CD that you guys approved for renewal at the last council meeting, when I actually got the renewal information, the interest rate was actually 0. So I contacted the mayor, and it was decided that we would not renew that and tie up those funds in the CD that wasn't earning any interest. And we just put it back into our, what we call the collections account. It's kind of a holding account. Same situation. We've got another CD that's coming up for renewal on April 19th, and currently the interest rate is like 0.15%. This is a $100,000 CD. I personally don't feel like it makes sense to tie that up for 6 months at that rate. It would only earn $150. I feel like probably we should just hold that money out, just put it in the holding account and see what happens with interest rates, or at least the money's been available if we need it for project or whatever. But I don't feel like renewing it at that rate is a good thing to do. But I need the council's approval.
I would agree with that.
You want to make that a motion?
Sure.
Okay, Cale's made the motion. Did I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Larry. All in favor? Okay, yes, we're going to pull it out of that CD just like we did the other one, and we'll just hold on to it, and if rates go up and we want to reinvest, we'll reinvest.
Okay. And the only other two things I have, the computer upgrade that we have for our hardware here in City Hall is scheduled for April 23rd. It'll probably take a couple of days to get done. The audit is still scheduled for April 28th, but they're not coming here, so everything will be done remotely. We'll probably be using Zoom meetings, conferencing, that kind of stuff to get that accomplished. A lot of the stuff we're scanning and sending, and trying to get it all sent in that way. So we've been pretty busy trying to get all that done, but it's still set for the 28th. That's all I have.
Okay, so anybody got a question for Lila? If not, do I hear a motion to accept and file the clerk report?
So move.
Moved by Amanda.
Second.
Second by Derek. All in favor? Approved. Okay, council comments. Larry. Gail.
So the people that were forced to close their business, this continues, how are they gonna continue to pay their utility bills? Is there state or federal aid to municipalities in this situation that can be passed down to those people that are forced to close their doors? Do we know of anything like that?
My understanding is that you're talking about businesses, not the city, correct?
Right, business.
That is what the part of the $2 trillion stimulus
Right.
is that sole proprietors and small businesses can apply for what is called the Paycheck Protection Program. It is a loan from the SBA, designated under the CARES Act, which is able to be applied for to continue payment of, I believe it is utilities, payroll costs, not including payroll taxes, but payroll costs, health insurance, retirement contributions, anything associated with payroll other than the employer's portion of FICA. And then FICA, FUTA, employment taxes. And then also it can be used for, what's the other thing? I'm sorry. It can be used for mortgage interest payments. It can't be used for mortgage principal, but mortgage interest and rent payments. So it is refundable. I mean, there's a formula that has to be followed, but it's a 1% loan payable over a specified period, and I think it depends on the portion of the loan. But it is refundable, or it is forgivable up to the full amount if it is used in accordance with the way that the CARES Act designates it can be forgiven, and that's, you can't use more than 25% of it for utilities, rent, everything. It's 75% of it has to go to paychecks, but if it is used outside of that, it's just not forgiven. It's not immediately paid back. It's just not forgiven. It's loaned at 1%, which I think is lower than most CRs. And that's, as far as what is available to government, my understanding of the provisions of the CARES Act is that it is not really, local governments aren't receiving any aid unless they have a significant population which they're looking at their infrastructure being affected. And I think it's 500,000 residents that you need to have, and so we're about 498 residents. 498,000 residents shy of that. So, but as far as, the city being able to offer aid to individuals, I don't know that that's feasible, but what is available for the individuals is, there are provisions in there that they can, if they are struggling or concerned about being able to pay their bills.
Yeah, I think that it's just up to all the individual people to apply for that if they need the help.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that most of the banks here in the county are lenders with that. I've spoke with all of the banks. I know FNB, Western State, and the bank are. I thought Bank West was. You may be able to.
Still inactive.
Okay. I had someone contact me today and stating that Bank West had told them to contact my office and I would apply on their behalf and it would go through me, and that's it's a loan, so I don't know why that would. That's not correct. But FNB Bank, Western State, and the bank are all, I believe, ready, willing, and able to take applications. I contacted them all on behalf of other clients.
Yeah, that's good.
I contacted them all on behalf of other clients 3 days before the program went live, the morning that the program went live, and then the following week, just to make sure that I could start sending people. And that I know of, those 3 banks at least are. I'm not sure.
Okay. That'd be nice to get that information out there to everybody somehow. I don't know. They'll probably see it, but in case they don't, I don't know. The paper would.
If they're watching any of the news or seeing.
Yeah, they should be able to.
So. Hey, David.
No. Is it premature to talk about maybe still and flying? Okay.
Amanda?
I don't have anything.
Derek? Okay. Well, we need to stop here and review the bills on ordinance 1037.
Who is Carrot Top Industries?
It's a mail order catalog where we order our flags,
Oh,
like our American flags and those kinds of things.
Carrot Top is?
Did we ever fix the pole in your park?
guy.
Is it fixed? Good.
I would have thought you'd be the first one that would have noticed.
I was one to complain, by the way.
That's why I said that.
You fixed it while I was gone.
Not the least that I needed. Is this?
Okay, see ya. Thanks.
See you, Lonnie.
You just couldn't stand that, could you?
Was they driving you crazy?
No, I brought that table in Thursday.
Oh.
This really gross table, and I thought I don't really need to sit in the middle of the room now that we've got our own phone. Lila,
Yes.
it's the box by the back wall, the phone I need to take back over across the street.
Yes.
Okay.
Just a quick comment while we're going over this. When I talked to Mike about that, the bond issue, he very strongly reiterated that he thought the curb and gutter should go on the bond. And I simply said I'd pass that on. I don't agree, but he mentioned it and I said I would mention it. I forgot about it.
I think we leave it alone because we've had that discussion before. I don't know.
I said I would repeat it, and I also told him I didn't agree with that, so.
I would agree with putting it on one.
Yeah,
That's me.
putting it on the bond, the individuals still pay for it, that's just
Oh,
how
they
it's
do?
financed.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I was thinking
No,
the city paid
completely
for it.
different subject.
Completely different.
Yeah, borrowing for it instead of paying for it, as
Gotcha.
in, and.
Well, I
That we
guess,
come up with it.
I guess that saves, the only thing that would help us out is not taking it out of our funds. That, how much,
38,000.
which, if it was 380,000,
That's
it'd be
what I
different.
think, honestly, that's what I think, if it was a 20% of the project, it's considerable when it's.
Penny.
Yeah, what's the SGS towers drilling?
That was the core
That is
sampling.
way overdue bill from the core testing for the street work. That got lost in translation. We ended up getting a late notice, didn't we, Lila, or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah.
From the engineer, but they had never seen the bill, nor had we. So that was from way, way long ago when we was doing core samples on the street.
Does anybody have any other questions on the bills on ordinance 1037?
Not yet. I don't think so.
Have you had anybody apply for a job?
Oh, I saw that too.
The insurance for like the whole, everything, whole city policy or something? Blanket policy?
How much was it?
The insurance,
Which one, where you at?
the $83,000.
Yeah.
Is that separate from Fruit's?
But that is our EMS, I think EMS, that's not EMS, what is it?
EMC.
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 Insurance that insures all the buildings and everything for the city.
isn't it about time for that yearly meeting to sit through?
I
Shouldn't
already
somebody-
did it.
Oh.
We haven't done that for a few
And I
years.
told him I thought you guys needed tortured next year.
Hey, I've already sat through it once. I think there's, 3 or 4 other people that haven't sat
I
through it.
sat through a lot of them.
No habla English.
And when Kelly came, it took a while. But the bad thing about it, it got down to JR had to answer the questions, like, do we still have this vehicle? Do we have this? Do we have this, And so JR has to make sure he gets them off or adds.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, we really don't have much control over other than here's the bill.
Is that what I sat in with Kelly?
What's that?
Is that what I sat in with Kelly?
Yes. And you have to evaluate the values of the equipment, the values of the building, and there's a general, there's given information there, and the differences to devalue them and what it still pays out is so different. It's a lot of numbers, but where it's a blanket coverage thing, as long as your losses don't meet the total, you can put more into any value, so, it's pretty easy to keep it straight. I hope we don't ever run into a situation where it's not, but it does need to be reviewed every year. But it can be kind of time consuming and boring.
Well, do I hear a motion to approve the bills on ordinance 1037?
So moved.
Moved by Amanda. Second by David. All in favor? Bills approved. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Moved by Derek, second by David. All in favor, get up and walk out. They're leaving.
Oh.